Welcome to EnigmaCast, everybody. Boy, I got a treat for you guys. I got a treat for you. I actually found one of the only 3 decent people in New Jersey and got him to come on my show. You guys can thank me later. Steve, welcome to EnigmaCast, bro. Everybody, this is my buddy right here, Sasquatch Steve Taylor. He is going to be a new personality that we bring on the show. He's going to be doing, obviously, he's going to help us out with some of the cryptid stuff. Steve, say hello to all the other Enigmites out there.
Joe, thank you for having me so much on the show. And to all the Enigmites, I've been watching along with Joe's podcast. We've been for a while now. It's got a lot of entertaining stuff, a lot of very interesting stuff. And I thought, you know what? There's a lot of weird stuff going on in here in New Jersey, so it'd be perfect for me to jump in and throw a little curveball here too. So,
exactly, Steve. I'm famous. I don't want to brag on myself. But the other day I was in an elevator. I had to fly down to Florida real quick. I just got back a couple of days ago. I was in the elevator. There was a little girl in there. She looked at me. She pointed, and she almost said she almost said fiduciary. I knew it was coming. She couldn't place the face. But she's like,
she knew.
I could just tell. Like, do I know this? I know this cat from somewhere, man. So, anyways, it's only a couple. Only 2. I'm 2 episodes away, son.
That's right.
2 episodes away.
This will be, you know what? I have a feeling, Joe, that this one is really going to push it. It's going to push that right in the mainstream. This is going to be a really good episode, and I think that's really going to get you where you're thinking. In
the bylaws of our founding father papers for this channel, man, it's strictly in there that every week we must push the limits. We must push the limits of this show. So I bring on the guests no one else will have.
That's right.
Take that as you will.
That's right.
So anyway, Steve, before we get into it, y'all, tonight's topic is going to be about the Jersey Devil. Got some good stuff on it. Before we do that, we want to get you to know a little bit more about Steve here. So, Steve, tell everybody a little bit about you, son. Where you from? What do you do?
Well, if you couldn't already tell from Joe's so thoughtful comments, yes, I'm from New Jersey, born and raised in northern New Jersey. I've been here for a very long time. Like I said, Joe and I, we go back quite a while, so we got
20 years, Steve. 20 years. Don't shortchange me. I've earned those 20 years with you, man. 20 years. I think I've known this guy.
I was this tall when we first met, Joe. Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a hot minute, son. Hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
So also, Steve. Yes. So what I do is I have some people have like a little test group. I ask out questions for here, right? And they send me a few, right? So one of them is, Steve, are you single?
Yes, the answer to that, yes. Just like everything else on your show, it's a mystery. I don't know how, but yes.
It's a mystery. I don't know how. I goof around a lot, but I'm about to say something here that goes a little bit against my character. This dude is the nicest guy I've ever met in my life. Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. He was the original boy for the Don't Do Drugs commercials back in the day.
That's right. That's right. But I appreciate it.
If you're a single lady and you're looking for a good husband, this is your guy. And he actually survived the shark attack. And
I did.
Tell them the story about Steve about the shark attack where people actually thought you were dead.
All right, so I'll try and make it quick, but this was probably around 2006. I was shortly out of high school, and the social media was still and everything like that. And so I was up on vacation in Cape Cod in Massachusetts, which is where family usually goes for vacation back when we were younger. And one day I'm down at the beach and I get home and I have my little flip phone and I get back and I didn't bring it with the beach with me because I just at the time, well, you didn't do it. Got back and all of a sudden I had tons of missed calls, missed messages on my phone. I said, what the hell is going on here, right? And I'm getting all these texts. Are you okay? Is everything okay? I'm like, what the hell's going on? I go online. I go on AOL Instant Messenger, which was popular at the time. People start messaging me like crazy. I'm like, what is going on? They all start sending me links. SteveTaylor.com. It's a website with my name. And I said, what is this? I click on it. And some of my friends had made a very convincing memorial website that said that I had been eaten by a shark while on vacation in Cape Cod. And they sent it to everyone. My job, my former high school, everyone we knew, and it spread like wildfire. It was big. It was big.
This dude, they were writing this dude's obituary. Yeah, actually pronounced dead. Several years later, people that bump into Steve from his class who weren't close with him tell him, I thought you died. I thought you were dead.
Yep.
I actually think that's a funny story, man. That's hilarious.
All the time. I got a lot of that because I can't go around to every single person I ever met in my life and tell them that it happened. So some people they fall through the cracks and that's it. They
Shark
find
attack.
out years later.
Shark attack, Swab. Shark attack. That's how you went down.
That's
also,
right.
Another fun fact about Steve is Steve is a probably top 100 in the United States of America hot sauce creator. And so Steve actually makes his own hot sauce. I'm actually going to have him. I'm going to work with him offline. I'm going to have him whip me up some channel hot sauce when I come up with a cool name. 20 bottles, and we're going to give it away to people on Instagram or whatever. Steve's famous hot sauce that he's going to make is going to be Sasquatch Steve's Howling Hot Sauce. Woo! So it's going to be a banger, Steve.
You're going to be screaming just like the Jersey Devil. That's what he's known for.
I don't even like hot sauce, but I know our watchers, our supporters will like it. All right, enough of that small talk, Steve. You're boring. No one cares about you, Steve, that much. All right, it's my show. You're here to make me look good. You understand? It's my show. Anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about the Jersey Devil.
That's right.
And I actually, at the end of the show, I'm going to tell you, I actually have a Jersey Devil story. One person removed when I was in the Navy, a cat from Wildwood, New Jersey, told me this story when we were on watch one night, where he had a direct encounter with the Jersey Devil hunting inside of the Pine Barrens. Now, normally this would fall. The Jersey Devil falls under a weird category for me in the channel. We have our urban legend sections, which Jay does, and then we have the cryptids, which I do, and you're going to start to help us with that. And also, it's right in the middle of the conspiracy theories that I get into about how they're creating these in labs and letting them go. We'll get into all that good stuff. So, for anybody watching this for the first time, if you are not familiar with what the Jersey Devil is, the Jersey Devil is a very, very famous urban legend, cryptid, whatever category that would fall in, out of New Jersey. Now, and if you've never been in New Jersey before, New Jersey is I would say it's an anomaly of a state. We have a lot of listeners all over the New Zealand as well. Jay, let me say Jay. Steve, F you, Jay. Forget you, Jay. I'm just joking. Steve, so we got listeners in Australia and New Jersey. Might be a little bit something they're not familiar to, but for our listeners around the world, New Jersey's in the northeast corner of the United States of America, just below New York. And New Jersey is actually a very beautiful state if you just can get over the people, right? And especially the women, right? Never marry a chick from Jersey, especially if she's blonde, right? They made a TV show about it, so I won't give them a plug on it, but never do that. And so, thank God you're probably single, Steve. So here's what it is. The southern part of New Jersey, there is a place called the Jersey Pine Barrens. It's literally a 1 million plus acre forest. It is.
It's if you look at it, eyeballing it, most people don't realize this about New Jersey. Most people, when they think of New Jersey, if they're not from Jersey, you're really only experience as going in through Newark Airport, right? And you're in like a really crappy area. Like you said, Jersey is actually a very beautiful state, and we have a huge section in southern New Jersey. It really takes up probably about a quarter of New Jersey total land area. It's down South Jersey. It's called the Pine Barrens, and exactly what it sounds like. It is a massive area, very little inhabitation, and it's mostly just pine trees as far as you can see. Yeah. So it is massive, and 1 million acres. That's insane to me, right? In fact, it is so massive that it's actually known for a few things. It's actually known for it can be completely remote. It's so remote in there, but it's also famous for all different types of plants and fauna that grow in there, with all types of very specific wildlife that are like in those areas down there. And so out of that forest, a legend was spawned about the Jersey Devil, and Steve and I will get into that in a second to give you a little bit more about it. I myself have personally never been to the Pine Barrens. While I was in the military, I knew a guy who grew up in Woodlawn, New Jersey. I think it's Woodlawn, right? Wildwood, New Jersey.
which was a touristy area, right, where a big boardwalk's at, and then they go to there's a big beach
it's a
there.
big area down the southern tip of Jersey.
I actually think that's a major tourist hotspot too, from people from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and I think Maryland.
It is.
Well. So yeah, Delaware too, right?
Yep.
Matter of fact, it might even share some of it with like Delaware. Well, I don't know, it's probably not. I'm thinking of something else. But anyways, you used to go hunting there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're in the military, a lot of people think that we're all freaking Jason Bourne in it 24/7, right, man? That ain't, man. There's a lot of downtime, man. A lot of downtime. And so me and this cat, man, I was on Diego Garcia and we were standing watch, and it was about 3:00 in the morning. And man, I'll tell you what, man, the trick we used to do is when we would get, if we want to feel like we were falling asleep, Steve, we would just like stand up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So me and this guy were on watch. We stood up, man. He's like, we started talking. I don't know how the subject came up, man. But he made a comment about the Jersey Devil, and I laughed, man. He's like, no, man, it's for real. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man, I saw it. And I'm like, get out of here, man. What are you talking about? Like, you saw it, right? I mean, you know, I saw it. He's like, yeah, man, I really did. I saw it. And I'll tell you this. And I was like, well, how? And he goes, well, and then this cat started to lay this story out, man. He's like, hey, look, man, I knew he was from Wildwood, New Jersey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were in there. We had similar things, man. He liked hunting and all this other stuff, right? He was like, hey, look, man, what my uncle and I were on, my uncle liked to go hunting, man. And we went on a hunting excavation down in Wildwood. And we were in the Pine Barrens, from Wildwood into the Pine Barrens. I'm sorry. We were in southern Georgia, and we were in there. And he said, you know what, we got to they got to where they were going about 4:00 in the morning, stood there all day. Nothing happened, man. Dusk until, so dusk was coming, right? Dusk was leaving. So they got up and they were leaving. And as they were going back to their truck, he said he was going back to his truck. He said that something just kind of felt like really weird. Something felt like just kind of off, right? And his uncle brought it up first. He was like, hey, look, I'm not going to say the guy's name, man. Just to be, I don't know if he wants it out there or whatever, but he's like, hey, do you feel something? So his uncle asked him, hey, man, do you feel something? It feels a little weird out here, right? He's like, yeah, I don't know, man. And his uncle was like, hey, look, man. They said this guy was 16, man. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, hey, look, come on, man. Let's hurry up, man. Let's get out of here. Now, the first thing, I grew up in the Appalachians, and I say this on the channel all the time, Steve. The most dangerous thing you normally will come across in the woods are people. So, you know what I'm saying? So his uncle probably thought that, hey, man, something was weird. Something was going on, man. Hurry up and get in the truck. So they were leaving. So when they got in the truck, man, he said they put their rifles away. They got in the truck. Everything was fine. They were driving. He said about 30 seconds into the drive, they were going down. His uncle's like, what in the world? Said something like that. They looked over to their right, and about, I want to say, like he said, 12 to 15 feet away, this thing was pacing them, was running. He said he freaked out. He froze. His uncle started cussing, smashed on the gas of the truck, man, and started just hauling it down, trying to get out of there, right? And this thing was keeping up with him the whole time, right? And he described it as having horns, being furry, hairy, and looked like it had goat legs, right? It runs on goat legs, right?
Yep. That sounds accurate.
I proceeded to tell him that he was a nut. I don't know what you and your uncle were doing in those woods. I don't know what was going on, this, that, and the other. Because this was before I really started like getting into this stuff back here in the back, man. So Steve, you know me for a long time. I'm toning it down what I actually said. You know what I'm saying, right? Because I want to keep it PG-13.
Sure.
But anyways, though, but he told me this story, man. And it's funny because, we had a mutual friend pass away about at the beginning of the year, and he texted me. He actually lives just north of me, and I was like, "Hey, man, we'll get together." And I'm gonna tell him about this story. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. So actually that's the story that I first heard way back in the day when I was in the military. So Steve, do you have any Jersey Devil stories before we get into the lore?
You know, myself, no. I'm in northern New Jersey. I'm not near the Pine Barrens, so I've been there before, but it's not a place where I've really traveled through too much and really don't know anyone down that way. So I personally don't know anyone who's ever claimed to have encountered the story, but it's it's something everyone here knows it. I've known about it since I was a kid. You know, it's New Jersey folklore. Everyone knows it. I remember the very first time actually that I can recall really ever hearing about it was, I want to say in fourth grade. My elementary school classroom, they had this bookshelf kind of built into the wall, and I remember as a kid going through there and pulling through books, and the one of the few books that I truly remember reading was a book about the Jersey Devil, and I loved it. I was fascinated by it, and it was just such a crazy story, such a crazy creature. I couldn't think that it would be real, and the fact that it's from right here in my backyard, it was just very compelling to me. So I'll always remember that book.
Yeah, and so would you ever go on a cryptid hunt for the Jersey Devil?
I would take the time to go down there and see. Would I go for an extended period of time? I probably wouldn't go crazy like some people and go on like a month-long expedition, but I go down for a weekend, and go camping, see what happens, see what I come across.
So yeah, man. So the thing about that too is that I would think that the Pine Barrens being 1 million acres, right? And so like you could easily just get lost and die in there looking for this Jersey Devil. I mean, I hate to say that, man, but like also too, man, like the Pine Barrens also used to be a notorious mob spot for dumping bodies. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in there.
I was going to say, if you're a fan of The Sopranos, there's one episode where Christopher and Paulie they are trying to get rid of somebody. He's still alive. They got him back in the trunk. They drive down to the Pine Barrens and they go to open the trunk, whack the guy, and he runs off. And he gets away. And the whole episode is them running through the Pine Barrens trying to find this guy. And again, it's so big you can just get lost down there.
So big. So anyways, all right. So there's two lines of theories on this Jersey Devil. We'll start with the mystic folklore portion of it. Steve, do you know about this?
Well, actually, before we get into it, I just want to I want to set the tone here for myself. I'm going to throw on my Jersey Devil's jersey.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay, Steve. Okay, Steve's gotten his colors.
Got my colors on.
All right. So Jersey Devils. All right. For those who don't know, Jersey Devils is a very mediocre hockey team out of New Jersey.
Multi-Stanley Cup champions.
Multi-Stanley Cup winners. Actually, one of the best fights I've ever saw was when the New Jersey Devils got into a fight. I want to say with Pittsburgh, and it was so bad. This cat named Ron Hextall was the goalie for the Jersey Devils. Skated out and tackled the other goalie. It was amazing, man. Like everybody was fighting. Yeah.
When the goalies start getting involved,
man. It's always good. It's always good. All right, Steve. So you're in. You're zoned in, Steve. You're zoned in. All right, we're gonna dial it in. So, anyways, the most accurate description I would not say accurate. The most consistent description of what the Jersey Devil looks like is they describe it in his bipedal, hooved feet, wings, forked tail, face like a horse or like a goat with horns.
Oh, yeah, that's what the typically between the two of those. Yeah.
So that's where some people vary on other types of things, but the most consistent one that I've ever heard, and I did a brief little skim on this too, and that was the description that most people came. Yeah,
and I can't remember if you mentioned, but wings too, bat-like wings.
Have bat-like wings, right? So, yeah, just think devil, little leathery devil. Take away the pitchfork, right?
Yes, very accurate name.
So actually, the Jersey Devil also has a little claim to fame as well. The legend of the Jersey Devil actually is older than Loch Ness Monster and older than a lot of them. The Jersey Devil first lore started around 1735, back in the 18th century. And the original story for them is that there was this lady. Her name was Leeds. Her last name was Leeds. I can't remember. Jane Leeds on my notes. Her name was Jane Leeds, right?
Yep.
AKA Mama Leeds, and she supposedly had 12 children and got pregnant for a 13th time. And because of the pregnancy, the urban legend goes, she was so upset she cursed the kid, saying that the kid was of the devil. And so that when the night the kid was born, big storm rolled up, shook the house. Baby was born. But immediately the baby came out, so they transformed, turned into what we just described, except a little mini version. They tried to kill it or catch it, scooted up the chimney, and took off. And henceforth, the Jersey Devil was created. Steve, I know I gave that the Cliff Notes, but I leave anything out there?
No, that sounds about right. But yeah, and this was, like you said, this was of the Leeds family. Her name, she's known as Mother Leeds. And typically, so at the time, Leeds, Leeds, was a common name down in South. That was like a communal name down there. So even the town was called Leeds Point. So it's kind of,
I didn't know
that was, and I'm not sure if you're aware too, but the name, the Jersey Devil, is actually relatively newer. That didn't come about until about the early 1900s. At the point, up until then, it was known as the Leeds Devil. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Look at Steve. Check out the big brain on Steve, y'all. Huh? Told you so. Right? Graduated fifth grade. Graduated fifth grade. Right. I actually want to say to two, man, that 1735, I know when I first stumbled across the Dogman story, I want to say that around that time, the late 1700s, it might even be older than that, out of Michigan was the first Dogman sighting on it. But for you people who watch our show, you know I bring the receipts on this all the time. And throughout history, there have been several sightings of this creature. One of the more famous ones was a guy named Joseph Bonaparte. Steve, do you know who he is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, hit him, Steve. Yeah. Joseph Bonaparte. Who is it?
Joseph Bonaparte was the older brother of Napoleon Bonaparte, who we from across the pond over in Europe. There.
So yeah, we're going to pause that right there for a second.
Yes.
You can't make that up. You cannot make that up, man. That Napoleon Bonaparte's older brother just one day was in New Jersey. Well, it wasn't New Jersey at the time, so.
Well, actually, I was also just re-skimming through things recently, and I found this very interesting. So what happened was, yes, Joseph Bonaparte was the older brother of Napoleon Bonaparte, and he was actually, I didn't know this, he was also formerly the King of Spain. So he's a pretty big deal.
I didn't know that either. Okay.
Yeah, but once Napoleon kind of fell and that was it, Joseph was like, all right, I got to get the hell out of here. And he made the smartest decision he ever made, and he moved to New Jersey. So that was it. So he had this huge estate down in southern Jersey, right across the Delaware from Philadelphia. And so it was in a town called Bordentown. He had a huge 800-acre estate there in Bordentown. So
that's insane to me. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? That's maybe I've been sleeping on New Jersey. I mean, for the history, I need to look into it. What happened to y'all, man? Where'd it go wrong? just joking. A little bit. Probably being a little serious. But anyway, so look. I'm sorry, I'm cracking myself up, Steve.
You want me to continue the story? You all right over there?
Please do. Well, stop.
All right, while Joe's clearing himself over there, so Joseph Bonaparte, while he was living over here in New Jersey, in the greatest area in the world, he was out one day. It was a snowy day, and he was out hunting on his estate. And as he was going through the snow, he saw these tracks in the snow, and he thought this was bizarre because he saw it looked like what he explained to be like what it would have come from a two-legged donkey, right? And I got to say, I have seen some of those around here in New Jersey, but I don't think it was the same kind of two-legged donkey.
Hold on. Two-legged donkeys. I got the joke. Go ahead.
So he saw this creature and he saw the footsteps. So he followed the tracks for a while, and eventually they just stopped. And he was very confused. How could these tracks just stop? And either this creature disappeared or it flew off. And supposedly he claims that after he reached the end of the tracks, he heard a hissing sound, right? And he turned around and there it was, right in his face, and it batted its wings and it flew off. Man. So, and I was thinking that, and I was reading about that, and I think, and I don't mean this as any disrespect to anyone here watching, but I'm pretty skeptical when it comes to things like this, right? I like to have a little bit more, not just a story. There's got to be some credibility to it. If you have someone, Napoleon's brother, right, the former king of Spain, you're not going to come out with this story and try and tarnish your reputation if it's not real, right? So to me, that adds that little bit of credibility, or at least plausibility, that you never know.
I gotta tell you, Steve, you really that thread. You really know that thread, because one thing that I noticed in the UFO, UAP, cryptid, weird verses is that a lot of people try to get a lot of people, when they get in front of the camera and they start talking, they have to have an answer for every question, right? No one we don't do that here. If I don't know, I'm like, man, I don't know, right? So they have to have a question to say. For example, Billy Carson. I don't know if you knew this guy is, man. He's probably a really nice guy, but he's talks about these Sumerian tablets all the time, and he goes in really different directions, and he always has to have like an answer saying, no, instead of saying it, this guy would not need to make this story up, right? He wouldn't have this. There's like, my brother was Napoleon, I was the king of Spain. I don't need this street cred. You know what I'm saying? Right? So that's what gives me like, damn, okay, wow, all right. So he saw, and again too, we get a lot of comments here where people like immediately will attack something that somebody says, and I try to say, hey, look, man, can we just agree that they saw something? And if they say, okay, yeah, he probably saw something, but some people are gonna be like, no, it's a lie, never saw anything. Then I just can't deal with you, man. Like, he saw something that made him go back and say, hey, look, man, I don't know what that was, but I saw a devil outside my outside my thing, right? And so you have to be able to at least give somebody. And I've learned too through life that when people come across like unexplained situations, for example, we all would like to say like, man, I tell you what, if I was on that hunting trip and with my uncle and that Jersey Devil was beside my window, he's taking 2 rounds to the chest, right? But really, you're like, drive the truck. You're just throwing the gun out the window. You know what I'm saying, right?
That's right.
Pushing kids over, trying to get yeah. So like, it's easy to armchair it, man. But like, yeah. So it does to me, man. Like that gives me a little bit like, it gives me like a little bit of pause. And there's another thing too that gives me. I don't know what this is. All right, and so if you turn it off now, if you're waiting for a big reveal for me to tell you, or for me, Steve, to tell you what this thing is. Steve, you know what this is? Yeah, me neither, right? So we're just going to try to talk about it, but I can say that it's something, right? And the reason why that I can say that it's probably something is that normally a sighting of something goes down after it's been reported, right? Like you say, hey, look, I saw Bigfoot in this one section, right? 40 research team shows up. Now it turns into 300 people a day are going there. They'll never see it again because whatever it was is not going to be around humans. This thing actually gets more and more visible after that, right? There was stories about it killing livestock, stealing chickens, killing cows, all kinds of other stuff that went out through the later years when it went down.
Yep.
And I forget the year. I want to say it was like 19 something, around 1920 or maybe the 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
It got so bad they started printing newspaper articles. Go ahead, Steve. Fill us in on that.
Yes, I read about that too, and I want to say it was 1909. In the beginning of the year, it was January, and for whatever reason, I tried to figure out why, right? But it just seemed like out of nowhere, all of a sudden, all the newspapers down in South Jersey, that Pine Barrens area, they all started sitting there and publishing reports of sightings and encounters with the Jersey Devil. At that point in time, again, even though it had been a couple hundred years, it was still primarily New Jersey lore, right? But what was happening was all of a sudden, it was over the course of like 2 weeks. It wasn't anything long. All these papers were starting to publish about the Jersey Devil, and it started getting out, spreading more. People were reading about it in Pennsylvania or in Philly. They were starting to read about it in Delaware, and it was this week that turned the story from just a New Jersey story to a nationwide known story,
Yeah.
which very interesting. And it was just from this 2-week period of mass sighting. There was a panic. You know, schools were closing, businesses were closing. There were hunters coming in from all around, from not just from all over Jersey, but from New York, from Pennsylvania, from all over the place. There were hunting parties trying to track this thing down.
Yeah. And so lock up the kids and get the women off the street and like don't go to school. That was pretty wild, man. So I didn't have a chance to really go in and dig into the archives and see if I could pull up one of those news articles because I've been so busy this last week. But that gives it. I'm not gonna lie, man. That gives it some street cred for me, man. Because like, okay, people, but this. I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna make a little turn here. I think America is really starting to make this curve back to it. But in the 1920s, Americans were so much more transparent, man. So much more honest about like, you know, hey, look, this is what I saw. Even the original Roswell news articles were, yeah, a UFO landed here, right? Yeah, we did this. Yeah, we did that. And I was watching the At the Elephant in the Room 411 podcast, and they had a guest on there. Her name was Dove, and she did a PowerPoint slide or a really good presentation about these UFO crash retrievals that they actually used whatever river that the Hoover Dam blocks up to float it down river. And she actually had emails about how they were like, hey, look, keep this secret. Don't tell anybody this. I don't know where that came from, man. And so back then, the newspaper was the go-to source. There wasn't us to bring you the truth every Monday at 9, right? There wasn't us, right, to bring you the information that you need.
That's right.
So I actually believe that, and I've actually seen this too in other cases that I studied. Man, the Seraphin Long case that was out of I think it was out of western part of Canada.
Yeah,
there was other thing in there too where they were newspaper articles about the wild man sightings, Bigfoot sightings, and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden, man, we just became these like massive liars right around like, I don't know why, man, like right around the UFO Roswell thing, we just became these massive liars. It's actually, I think a lot of it has to, and I mean that with ultimate disrespect to the people that are in charge of this country. They're all complete liars, right? And so right around when Operation Paperclip went down and we decided that we were picking the Nazis that we wanted to bring over here to work for us. Everything became like super hush-hush, right? You know, everything was this, everything was that, deniability, Area 51, all this other crap. So, yeah, I actually believe it back. And also, too, man, I'm about to get off my soapbox here, but also, too, back then, town life was your life. You know what I mean? So, like, so when you were in a small town of, like, it's probably still like this in certain parts of the U.S. My neighbors don't even say hi to me, bro. It's so weird. I'm always like, hey, how you doing? He said hello to me. Yeah. Hey, what's up? How you doing? They don't even say hi to me, man. Like I don't know their names. I don't know nothing. One of them knocked on the door the other day. I actually had a package delivered to my house on accident. Knocked on the door. He had to bring his wife. He stood behind her and she asked me for the package back. I had the package by the door. Literally, I was waiting until 6 o'clock to take it to him. I'm like, man, what is going on here? So yeah, man. So back then, man, everybody knew everything, man. And so that's where the whole thing about it being in the newspaper as well. Yeah. And how hunters rushed in and all that stuff actually gives it a little bit more that they saw something, right? They saw something.
And not just like you said, not just one paper.
Yeah, no.
It was every paper down there.
Yeah.
We're running these encounter stories. So
yeah, and so I think that's cool. So anyway, and then it's seen. I don't know when the most recent sighting of like the Jersey Devil has possibly been because I don't track it like that. But you can go on this channel. You can go on YouTube, and you can find channels dedicated strictly to Jersey Devil research, Jersey Devil lore, back and forth. It's actually pretty cool. If you're a nerd, you like that type of stuff, nerd. It's nerds.
That's all of us, all right, Joe?
Exactly. Look at my walls. That's Darth Joseph back there, Steve. They don't just give those away, all right? I went to the academy, right? I got core band class of 91 right over there. So anyways.
No, but real quick, but like you said, like you were just saying, there's plenty of, you can go online, and search videos or any sort of web page, even on Instagram, people post some videos about the Jersey Devil, and there are still people today who will sit there and say that they have either themselves seen or they know someone who has.
Yeah.
It's not a phenomenon that's died down.
No, it's not. It's totally not.
It maybe gets buried with the amount of information and stuff that's out there these days, but people are still claiming to see it to this day.
Yeah, man, I don't know what happened to all of a sudden, man. Like on my feeds, I stopped getting cryptid stories and UFO stories. Now all I get is politics stories and like people shooting people. I don't know where this is coming from on my feed, man. So like that's nothing I ever look for, right? I don't care about either one of those, right? As a matter of fact, I'm having to hit not interested in some of this stuff. I'm like, yeah, look, I don't want to see a guy in Brazil get killed trying to rob a coffee shop. Right?
You're getting too close to the truth, Joe, so they're trying to suppress it.
That's what it is, right? That's what it is. I do get shadow banned a lot on freaking TikTok. I'm glad it's going away, right? Racist. It's because I'm white. It's because I'm white and I'm bringing the facts. That's why I get shadow banned over the time. Stupid. Anyway, so look, I also have some theories too on why I think that these sightings are increasing. Before I get into that, though, there's one thing I want to rule out. I did come across a topic of conversation that I had, and I can tell you what this is not, y'all. Some people try to let you believe that this is a pterodactyl. It's definitely not a pterodactyl. If you've ever seen what a pterodactyl looks like and then try to explain how that could possibly be misinterpreted as a Jersey Devil, can't. Now, the Jersey Pine Barrens are so remote and so big, they might have actually seen a pterodactyl in there back in the day. But I'm just saying, like, this is the Jersey Devil is not a pterodactyl, right?
Well, I'm not sure that dinosaurs were still around in the 1700s.
Right.
But you never know.
You never know, man. You never know, right? And so pterodactyls are also they're primary gliders. They can't they're not really good at flying, they glide or whatever, but anyway with that. So anyways, but I do got a rabbit hole, son. I do got a rabbit hole with some fiduciary that's going up there around your waist, Steve. I might send you on site. I might have to put you on site, right? You'll probably die, right? Mm-hmm. And that's 100% sure, but there is an island off the coast of New York called Plum Island. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before.
I've heard the name, but
okay. So basically, they'll tell you that it's a foot and mouth or disease clinic or whatever, where they study it on cows or whatever, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that ain't what it is, man. It is absolutely 100% a top secret U.S. government experimental lab. And that's where the Montauk creature rolled up. Remember that little hellhound that rolled up on your beach over there way back in the day or whatever? Yep. That's where it came on. And so I'm going to connect some dots here. I found out about the dog man when I read a story and had a podcast on it about this cat named Joe Barger. Joe Barger is famous in the cryptid community. You can type in YouTube and hear his story, or it's episode 16 that we did. He was driving through the Manatees National Forest in Michigan, got attacked by a dog man, put a hole in its head when it was trying to climb in his truck, and then the Department of Homeland Security started sweating him down, telling him he killed one of his assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drewski from Drewski from the Cryptid Warfare podcast, he knows guys that were in the military, that were critter getters, that were trained to go into the wilderness and hunt and kill these things, right? He knows guys that were doing it, right? He actually posted a podcast that he was watching on his story today that I read, where a guy was talking about them doing it as well. I couldn't figure out why would they do that. The Joe Barger story led me to another article where they were saying that they create creatures in these labs and they let them go in the forest to either train soldiers to hunt them, to see how they'll behave, and learn from them or use to weaponize them, of course. But the leading theory is that there is something in those cave systems in these national parks, and they breed these things and send them in there to fight those things, whatever's inside there.
Mm-hmm.
Now I wrote all that off until I did a Instagram post about this as well. In 2021, they tried to pass a bill in Congress making it illegal to do animal-human hybrid testing. And the Department of Homeland Security had it shut down. And so it is not illegal to make animal-human hybrids in the United States of America. It's not illegal. It's legal to do it, right? And so I found that fascinating. And then there's also, if you take the missing persons reports of the United States of America and you lay it across the map of the United States of America, all the clusters are the national forest, bro. All of them. All the cluster areas. You're not going to get snatched in Newark or New Jersey or any place like that, right? Yeah. But this missing person stuff. So I actually think that what some of these people are possibly seeing now is because if I was creating these things, the Jersey Pine Barrens would be the absolutely perfect place to let them go, right? To study them.
It's such a vast, uninhabited area.
Yeah.
That you could set something loose there, and it could roam free for a decade before anyone were to stumble upon.
For sure, right? For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And easily, if you wanted to train a group of operators to go in there and hunt this thing, right?
That's the spot.
You would never know what was going on in those pine barrens. Right? I'm sure the outlying areas where the roads are at, but like 1 million acres, no shot, right?
There's little tiny spots, yes, where people can drive through. There's buildings. There's people that live there, I guess, but that makes up a fraction of 1%.
A fraction of it, right? And so, Steve. So that's what I think maybe might be going on. I don't think this Jersey Devil's been this Jersey Devil. I'm gonna take you around another rabbit hole here.
Let's hear it.
This Jersey Devil situation is way too old for that, right? But it's not too old for that book right there. Mm-hmm. And in that book right there, Steve, I can't reach it. It's the complete 54 book Apocrypha. It's all the books that were taken out of the Bible at the Council of Messina, and it was used to dumb us down. And in that book, there's a book called the Book of Enoch. I don't know. Are you familiar with the Book of Enoch?
I've heard it, and especially because I've been watching your show here for a while. I've heard you and Jay especially mention it quite often. I'm not as familiar with it myself, but I have heard of it. Yeah. It's
all going to change, son. It's all going to change. Perfect. The Book of Enoch was supposed to be the chapter right after the Book of Genesis. And the Book of Enoch makes the Book of Genesis make complete sense. If you ever just picked up, like if you take somebody that's never read the Bible before and say, hey, look, here's the Bible. They read the Book of Genesis, they're going to be like, what is this, right? But if you take the Book of Enoch right after it, it's like, okay, well, like literally it's like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Right? So the Book of Enoch, the Genesis will touch on a topic saying, the reason why God flooded the earth is that the watchers, the angels that were left behind to watch over us, left their posts, came down, found women attractive, bred with these women, and created giants. They did a lot. They did a lot more than that, man. There's one verse in Genesis that says that they sinned against all creatures and animals, right? No, what they did was they came down and they actually created the Fae. Every fairy tale you've ever heard of, centaurs, all this other stuff, the Book of Enoch will tell you that those guys created it.
Gotcha.
And it is 3 giants were written in to have survived the flood, right? 3 giants were, right? And also there's every single culture on the planet has a flood story. Everyone. You can't go from Japan to India, the Epic of Gilgamesh, Christianity, Islam, all of them have it, right? They also have a very interesting thing where every single civilization has a word for a lizard man that can. I thought that was weird too. So like, but we'll get that. We're not going to talk about lizard people. Pay attention, Steve. All right, stop.
I'm sorry. I know I'm taking you off track here.
So yeah, it's taking me off track. This thing totally could be left over from that area. This thing from this area. This thing could totally be left over. Some type of Anunnaki watchers, whatever you want to call it, experiment that was in it. And the Bible also too references several times those who live on the earth and in the earth. We did a podcast about the relics that were found in the Grand Canyon. I think it was the Hopi Indians. Their creation story is that lizard people brought them out from inside the earth, and then the lizard people turned into humans. But the Hopi would say they're the first man, right?
Right. Interesting.
So all kinds of fiduciary Steve going on around in that, man. So I don't think that this thing is a government hybrid, but I do think that it is something, and I do think that it is something old. It can also too. We can't rule out. It doesn't meet the criteria of a skinwalker or anything else like that as well. So it's got to be a one of a kind, man.
And you with everything that you've just been saying, and I'm not trying to sit here and now blow your mind and put you in even more confusion here, right?
All right, here we go.
But perhaps should this have been a real thing, right? Perhaps there was at one point this Jersey Devil roaming around the Pine Barrens, and with it being so secluded, who knows? He could have died many years ago.
Yeah,
that's the story. But now people are seeing these lab-grown, and the government able to just continue and say, "Oh yeah, it's the Jersey Devil story." You're just seeing things, So they could have be piggybacking off of.
See, I like how your mind works, son. I like how your mind works. Let's put another layer on that cake. Or we caught the Jersey Devil, we have it locked up, and we're growing these things and letting them go to mature, and he's the primary, like he's the alpha seed or whatever.
Yeah.
You're gonna do good on it. You're gonna go far here, son. You're gonna go far here.
That's right.
Son. Keep digging those holes, man. Keep digging those holes, man. Yeah, so man. What would you do if you came across the Jersey Devil, right?
Well, like you said before, people can sit there in an armchair and say, "Oh yeah, I'd sit there and I'd take out my boxing gloves and I'd give it a 1-2." But what would probably happen is I'd probably freeze, wet myself, and run off in horror.
Yeah, and
that's the scenario.
Yeah, so you know what makes this. We're just gonna go that it's a cryptid, all right? We'll just stick on that theory. But you know what makes this cryptid, to me, dangerous? Is that it's airborne, right? And so,
yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so it's airborne. I watched a video that I actually thought was hilarious, but it was actually kind of terrifying, of a backpacker getting torpedoed by this giant eagle. I don't know if you've seen it, right? And if he wasn't wearing his backpack, man, he would have been smoked, right? So this eagle came down, man, and torpedoed him right about his shoulders, man. And this eagle is massive, easily a 6-foot wingspan, easily, right? Torpedoes it, man, boom, knocks you to the ground. The guy tells the story, man, and it took his wind. He's like, I was helpless, and this thing was going at his backpack. He had a dog with him, right? His dog actually ended up saving him. But when you go to, I want to say, there's a tribe of people that live, I want to say, near the Himalayas, where they capture eagles when they're real little and teach them how to catch foxes. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, it's really cool, right? And so the same thing with the Mothman. Are you familiar with the Mothman?
Heard of it, yes. Not on the details, but yes.
Yeah, it's an airborne cryptid as well, right? Yep. And there's very few types of airborne cryptids that stick around for like a very long time. And Native American lore talks about these thunderbirds that used to come up from New Mexico, and they called them thunderbirds because they would only fly during massive thunderstorms. And people have postulated that the reason they would only fly during thunderstorms is because they were so big that they would need that low pressure system or something to get up in the air. And they would tell stories of these big birds taking their children, right? Eating their children, right? And so the airborne cryptids for me, man, are pretty terrifying because, they're hunting us.
You're not getting away.
Yeah, for sure, right? You're not getting away. And like that guy said, you're tracking it. Next thing you know, it's like he knew you were following it. Because this thing, another thing too, like this, one of the stories was about a sheriff and his deputies who chased it into the woods. And they... Did you know that story?
I remember reading it the other day, but... yeah, no, go ahead.
So they chase it into the woods, and the sheriff and his deputies, they don't want to go into the woods, which is smart. So they provoke it, and they're like, "Hey, look, if you're what you are, do this," and it did it. It understood their language, and it gave them the exact response. That freaked them out, and they left. Right?
They yelled into the woods. They said, "If you're in there, rattle your chains."
There it is.
And
right
they
there.
heard start shaking, and they were like, "Okay,
we're not going in there. You stay in there. Now. I don't want no more trouble from you tonight." You understand? I get one more call. I get one more call from Miss Jones that you're down there stealing those chickens, right? That's not gonna happen.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up. The fact that it understood what they were saying, because if you go back to the origin story, it was born from human.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was. So it has that connection, with us here.
Yeah.
So it's on a whole nother level.
Yeah, it takes to a whole nother level, man. And then it takes to a whole nother level of how it could possibly reproduce if it's ageless, if it's it's probably not immortal, but like all kinds of question that goes into it. But the fact that it's intelligent makes it even more dangerous, right? Because an eagle is probably smart, right? But an eagle is not going to just be like, "Hey, look, I'm looking for a human," right? Like it's more of an opportunist, right? Most predators are opportunist predators, man, except for wolves. Wolves will stalk you, and they will slowly wear you down. They'll work you in a circle. But most animals, when they're hunting, are opportunist animals. They know how to track. They know how to hunt. But like if they see a human coming, they're not going to hunt a human, right? But if a human would show up, right, like grizzly bears aren't just looking for humans, right? But if it sees one, okay, sure. This
takes advantage, right?
Yeah, this thing will hunt you, right? And it's airborne. And if it's smart enough to lead you in, like if it led Napoleon's brother into a grove and then jumped up into a tree, he knew that, okay, this is where I'm going to take him down, right? So yeah, that makes it a little bit more terrifying for me, man. And so a story that I had told on the channel before I had told, I forget who I was telling, but in Upper East Tennessee, man, I've never heard of Dogman before, and I've never heard of anything like the Jersey Devil. We have some very specific cryptids that roam the Appalachian Mountains, but Bigfoot being like one of them. But in Tennessee was the first time I'd ever heard a story, and it was near this place called the Noachucky River, where a guy and his buddy saw a Bigfoot that was only about 6 feet tall. So they thought it would be fun to oh, what is that? And they pursue it for a little bit. And when they get to it, the Bigfoot disappeared. And then they heard a noise and they looked up and there was like 6 Bigfoots, like 10 feet tall in the trees that was above them the whole time. Right. And so they were like, oh, no. And so no disrespect, man. Right. And they just kind of they slowly backed out.
Yeah.
Until I'd heard that story, I never would have looked for a Bigfoot in a tree. I never would have looked up, right? So now with the Jersey Devil, new fear unlocked, quest complete. Checked, right? So, but yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Man, Steve, good story, bro. Way to bring it. All right. I got questions for you, though. Are you ready?
Oh, really quick, before I jump in, though, there was one thing I just want to mention that I thought was kind of interesting. And, like I was saying earlier, I'm skeptical. I don't say, no, this can't happen, but I do like to know that there's some sort of plausibility, And one thing that I found very interesting that I read upon is that, as we were saying, the origin story of this, the common origin story is that there was this woman, Mother Leeds, who lived Leeds Point, had these 12 children. Jersey Devil was the 13th. There are actual historical records from that same time period, the 1730s. There was a woman there named Deborah Leeds, right? And her husband was named Japhet Leeds. And in the early 19th, there's historical. I read on this. I checked on this. In there's actual historic records of a man named Japhet Leeds, his wife Deborah, and I don't remember what year, but it was in the 1730s. He left in his will. He named 12 children.
Wow. So
there is an actual record of this Leeds woman having 12 kids in Leeds Point in the 1730s. So it's that right there. That kind of got me like Like, that's really interesting.
That's why I brought you on the channel, Steve. You did census research. You went back and pulling up birth certificates and wills and stuff like that. But you brought up a good point on there too, man. Is that, man, how did this chick have 12 kids back in the day, man? Like when a toothache would kill you. Yeah. It's like, good Lord. 12 kids. Yep. This being the 13th. You found a woman named Deborah Leeds. And another thing too, right, is like you said, tying it back to the beginning here, you said that it was originally called the Leeds Devil.
Right. Yeah.
That would be that would be something very rude to put on somebody, right? To say, hey, look, this is the, like this woman with 12 kids. So they must have actually believed that, something like this, that's crazy, man.
And especially at that time period. I mean, look at the Salem witch trials. There was all sorts of stuff like this where it was people not really having a full understanding of things, and you hear it and you just kind of start rolling.
That's what history wants us to believe, Steve. Them trials. Fun fact: Salem.
I believe they.
You ever been to Salem?
No, I haven't.
The most haunted location in the United States of America per capita is Salem, Massachusetts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do know for a fact that I want to get this right. Mm-hmm. Is that I can't remember if they're Scottish or Irish, but the Druids who were in some part of the UK.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they ended up when they came across, and they brought that druidic, tree hugging, blood sacrificing demon.
Yeah.
So you know the term "knock on wood." Everybody knows that. Do you know the actual origin of that phrase?
I don't. I think I'm about to find out, though. Huh?
You are, and you'll never do it again. So the term "knock on wood" means is that the people back in the day, when they say knock on wood, they're trying to summon a tree spirit. So if they would say, "Oh, Steve, I hope you get what you're looking for," and he'll go, "Knock on wood." If you knock on wood, for them, that was them summoning a tree spirit, which is basically a demon, to grant them what they were trying to do.
Right.
But then the tree spirit would take something back from you, right?
I was just saying, but what cost are you doing that?
At a cost, man. At a cost.
Yeah.
Witchcraft, magic. The Bible will tell you, man, to stay away from it. It even talks about necromancy in there. Mm-hmm. God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit is the only thing that will give you without asking anything in return. Everything else that you deal with, even today, especially this voodoo, I forget what they call it. I was having an argument with my wife about sangria, I think is what's called, or sangria. Sangria is a drink. Sangria. Yep. We're having an argument over sangrias. No. It's basically it's Mexican black magic. It's a different type of voodoo.
Yeah.
And so actually, a lot of people don't realize this, but South America has or had a huge satanic problem. MS-13 was a complete satanic organization. A lot of people don't know that, right? You go watch any podcast with the new president of El Salvador. He'll tell you that they weren't fighting. They were fighting a spiritual battle.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a dude. Right? I don't know a dude, right? I got to be careful what I say here because he's actually changed his ways. I know of a guy. I never really cared for this guy, right? I know of a guy that I met through a friend of my wife, right? And I wouldn't even call him an acquaintance. I didn't like him, and it wasn't nothing personal. I just didn't like this dude. This dude told a story one time with a straight face that he broke up with his ex, whatever. He was so mad. He was in Colombia. This guy's got some time in Cartagena, y'all. This guy's got some Colombian in him too.
International, baby.
Yeah, exactly. He flew to Haiti and paid a witch doctor a ton of money to put a curse on this chick so her hair would fall out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the dedication that it would take you to buy a ticket, go to Haiti, right? Search up a witch doctor, pay him to put a curse on a chick to make her hair fall out, right?
But that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? That belief in that type of spirituality.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my, that kind of spirituality is very prominent down in South America.
No, it is.
It's big. Hold on, let me fix myself here.
Get your ambiance going, Steve. Get it together. We're professionals around here, son. All right.
Listen.
All state. All right. Steve's commercial. All right.
I'm gonna just turn it off here so we don't get any sort of copyright issues here.
Exactly, Steve. This is not a sponsored video.
That's right. So now we're at a black screen, so that's fine. But anyway, so you're saying, but yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me to hear something like that, because I know that that's just, again, the Santeria. It's basically Spanish for black magic, witchcraft.
Yeah.
You know, so that's very prominent down there.
It is very prominent down there, and I told my wife, do not ever bring that guy in a room with me ever again, or I will leave, or don't ever bring him around me again. Right.
Yep.
Later in life, man, this guy had I don't know what happened to him, man. He had like obviously something bad happened to him, right?
Yeah.
I think actually he was actually a pretty wealthy guy, and I think he lost his fortune, right?
Mm.
Came to Jesus, went and confessed to the girl what he did, and then, tried to make everything right or whatever. I don't even know if her hair fell out or whatnot, but I was just like, wow.
Whatever happened to her hair, but we don't know. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't keep it. I have. Now this dude do not come around me, man. And the reason is actually one of my. Again, in my youth, guys, I was a different guy. It was actually one of my calmer moments, man, because I was so shocked that he said that to me. Just like I'm talking to you. Steve, nice shirt. How's your day going? Hey, man, nothing. I just got back from Haiti. I put a curse on Michelle. I hope all of her hair falls out, man. Killed a few chickens and, sacrificed a goat. I'm like, what? Don't ever talk. Another thing too is that, so I don't know if it caught me off guard. I wasn't even really religious at the time, man. It just like, I can't believe this guy just said that. Like we're just having like a normal conversation, right? Last Christmas, no, the Christmas before last.
Mm-hmm.
I think I told you this before, Steve. Normally for Christmas, man, I leave, right? I pack up the family, I make everybody come together and we leave. So last year, I said, where do you guys want to go? They picked some place, some restaurant or some resort in Mexico. I forget where one of those questions, but something came up, me and my son, we couldn't go, I had to stay behind. But everybody else, they, of course, doing the right thing, they leave me. They just go, right? So they take off, they leave, right? So every day I'm getting WhatsApp calls, they're showing me videos or whatever. That night, my daughter and my wife, they go to the resort activities that they do, some kind of dancing or whatever. Everything slows down. This girl comes up, just making conversation, and her and my wife are having a conversation. And in the middle of the conversation, my wife says something, and the girl looks at her and goes, "Oh no, my Lord Satan would get very mad if I did that." Literally, that's what she said. So my wife was like, what? So she's like, okay. So she gets up, gets my daughter, and they leave, and they immediately call me on the thing. But that's just how easily it flowed off this chick's mouth, man. I'm just like, what are y'all doing?
It's just regular for them.
Yeah, it is, right? It's just regular, right? It's just regular, right? And I was like, dang, man, that's messed up. And so then so to bring this all back around to the thing that went down in Leeds, right? Back then, like you said, Steve, they thought you were a witch, man. You're cooked. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're done, right? So people say that she was a witch. I
read that too. Yep, that or saying that she was a witch and that Satan was the father of this child.
But I gotta throw the flag on that. If she was a witch, they're smoking her and everybody else. She's getting it, right? So there's no report of her like that happened, right?
No, not that I've heard.
Yeah, man, that the mystery thickens on this, right? So yeah, I mean they've commercialized it, but the origins for this, I don't know if the word mythos is the correct. You're my grammar police. Is that the right word? Mythos, would that fit in this?
I think so. At this point, it's really just folklore. But
thank you, Steve.
yes.
Thank you, Steve. This folklore. These roots run deep, man. And if you look at it, man, if you look at this story and you compare the Jersey Devil cryptid story or the Jersey Devil folklore story, it has more roots than like a lot of the other folklore stories that you would ever hear, or the cryptid stories that you would ever hear. And so, and it has, and time has, and another thing too, man, that makes me believe that this is a something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that this story is not going away. And the same thing when you look at like Bigfoots, dogmen, vampires, werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
In the Sumerian language, there's the word vampires in there. And then I just came across this thing about these dog-headed men that the Romans fought in northern England. That's the real reason why they built Hadrian's Wall over there. But werewolves have been around for a while. Wolfsbane's been around for a while. Those type of things have been around for a while.
Yeah.
And they don't die out, man. They don't like Loch Ness. It doesn't. Mermaids is another one that doesn't phase out, right? You know, when's the last time you talked about a centaur, right? No one really talks about centaurs anymore, but you've heard of a centaur, right? But it's not like, hey, there's a centaur sighting in this area over here, right?
Yeah, you don't hear about that, but yeah,
so you don't hear about those things specifically, right? So you know what? I gotta give the Jersey Devil a check, Steve. And my final analysis here on the wrap up is that I would go.
There's plausibility in there being something.
Something.
What it is?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you.
But you know. And it doesn't surprise me that no one's really ever been able to hunt it down, track it, because as we mentioned, the location that it's in.
No.
You never find it.
No, you would need like a lot of people. If you want to get an idea of how rugged 1,000,000 acres of the Jersey Pine Barrens is go to any national park, and you'll see the white trails, the blue trails, the red trails, or whatever. Do this at your own risk. Walk off that trail and go in a direction where there is no trail. Walk for 1 mile, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, you'll turn around when you get about halfway through it or whatever, because that is treacherous terrain.
Yep.
The Pine Barrens being 1,000,000. Now imagine 1,000,000 acres of that. You would definitely need like Blackhawk infrared, some type of like drone. Like you would need you would have to find it there, man. It would take a consolidated, serious effort to go into it.
And it's very dense down there. Yeah. Very dense. Even infrared, you might not catch it because it's all trees. You're not seeing.
Yeah,
you're not seeing it.
There's probably cave systems in there too as well.
Right.
And that's a no bueno. That's a no goer. That's no goer in there. And if you go into the Jersey Pine Barrens, try not to die. All right, because that's hard terrain, man. That's hard terrain, bro.
Joe, if you really want this channel to really take off, you got to come up north. We're gonna go camping in the Pine Barrens, and we'll do some Facebook or Instagram lives. How's that sound?
We'll do that. We'll definitely do that. I'll tell you what, Steve. I know people.
Mm-hmm.
My boy Drew over there at the Cryptid Warfare podcast has invited me out on an official cryptid hunt out there with the pros, AR-15s and everything like that. So, no, Steve, like I would definitely 100% do that, bro. I would do that for sure. I would do that.
That'd be intense.
I'd have to be armed though. I'm getting a shot off. That's my claim. That's my disclaimer, man. If I come across a cryptid or a Bigfoot or whatever that tries to get me down, I wouldn't just open fire for like no reason, right? If you're a dog,
I'm giving you the heads up. As you're sitting there opening fire, I'm on Instagram Live filming the whole thing so people can see. All right.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
Don't expect help from me. I'm getting you out there. That's
Get behind me, Steve. Get behind me. Right. Get behind me. We're good. Yeah, we'll definitely do that, man. We'll do some Instagram. That would be actually pretty cool, man. We'll do it in the fall when it's not a million bazillion degrees blistering up there.
No.
That's right. All right, Steve. So look, Here's your official response, man.
Mm-hmm.
Jersey Devil. Real, not real.
Without getting into the nitty gritty of it, I will say real.
There you go. It's something.
Exactly, and that's the asterisk there, is that something is real out there. What it is, I couldn't tell, but I do believe there's something out there.
Yeah, something. I'm with you on that. I don't think it's man-made. I think there could be some man-made cryptid stuff going on there now because of the fiduciary that's going on with the satanic controlled people that run our government. But
of course,
this was before they even knew any of that stuff was going on, and this story's been going around.
Yeah.
It's something. I don't know what it is or whatever, but it's something. Man, all right. Well, I'm not gonna sleep tonight, Steve. I don't know about you, but no, you're in Jersey. I'm fine. I'm in Virginia.
Don't worry.
You might be in trouble. I'm good. Well, all right, Enigmites, if you stuck around this long, you are our type of losers. Boom. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. I don't give a jolly what you do with that bell. Leave a comment and let us know what you think the Jersey Devil is. Cryptid, lore, demon, something new, alien. No one really goes the alien aspect with it on there, so it's probably not alien on it.
Alien aspect either, but I mean, who are we to say no, right?
Exactly, right? Exactly. Something old and mysterious. Leave a comment. Steve, got anything before we go?
No, like I said, I just want to say again, thank you for having me on the show, and I'm looking forward to...
Before we do this, Steve, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram. I got a brand new Instagram profile up. It's at Sasquatch Steve Taylor on Instagram.
That's it. I'll put that in the description. I'll also link a thing down there as well. And also I will connect my videos. I will connect my post to his post in the future, so it'll get on back and forth on that. That's it.
Perfect.
All right, noobs. We're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.